Alright, let's see how yesterday's video on Cyberpunk is doing. Why are you booing me? I'm right on this. Look, I get it. There are a lot of people that are very passionate about Cyberpunk 2077, that are very passionate about CD Projekt Red. I mean, I like CD Projekt Red. I think The Witcher 3 was a fantastic game, and the fact that they managed to put it on the Nintendo Switch was absolutely mind-blowing. I just wanted to point out some inconsistencies that we've seen with this game leading up to the release of it. Things have been very spooky. Things have been very quiet. And for a game that's been in development for 8 years, a game that is being heralded as potentially one of the greatest games of all time, yet all of the preview coverage, all of the review coverage has been very, very controlled thus far, I think should raise some red flags. That was the whole point of that video. Whether you agreed with me or you disagreed with me, it's all love at the end of the day, and I appreciate you guys watching that video. But today's topic is something that is hitting a little bit closer to home, and initially it really wasn't, because it involves the competitive side of the Nintendo communities. Now, when it comes to these competitive Nintendo communities, I don't really follow it all that much because I'm not a competitive Smash player. I'm not a competitive Splatoon player. But now it's sort of leading up to events that are impacting me somewhat, and now we're going to talk about the Edicons, which are some Etika themed Joy-Con covers that Nintendo just seems to not like their die-hard community. And it's weird how they don't embrace it like they do other companies would embrace these die-hard communities. So I want to talk about all these events and just pretty much share my thoughts on them. So the first thing we're going to talk about is something that we did cover on this channel before, and it involves the whole free melee situation. Now, in case you weren't paying attention to what that was about, let's be realistic. COVID pretty much put a damper on any sort of real tournaments or any sort of real gatherings that you could have within the video game community. So the Big House, which is the longest running Super Smash Bros. Tournament and has actually worked directly with Nintendo on many events in the past, was doing an online tournament in which they would utilize something called Slippy Online, which is basically rollback code that would allow people to play Super Smash Bros. Melee online because, well, you can't play Super Smash Bros. Melee natively online. This game released on the GameCube and has never been re-released. Now, there were some concerns about this tournament and using pirated copies of Super Smash Bros. Melee as well, which, may I remind you, is a 15-plus-year-old game that you cannot currently buy in any way that would benefit Nintendo in terms of a financial standpoint. This is something that's just being done with used copies. If you pick up a copy, even if you get a new copy of Super Smash Bros. Melee, Nintendo isn't seeing any money from that. You're just buying a sealed copy from a collector. So Nintendo didn't like what they were doing with this tournament, with potentially using illegally pirated copies of Super Smash Bros. Melee, a game that they cannot financially benefit on, like I just said, and the fact that they were using this Slippy Online code, and they tried to work with the event organizers in a statement that they gave, but ultimately they couldn't come up with any sort of resolution, and they actually shut down this tournament. Now, is Nintendo within their rights to do something like this? I mean, of course they are. It is their game. You have to have a Nintendo GameCube in order to play this game. You have to have Super Smash Bros. Melee, which was designed by Nintendo in order to play this game. So I do understand why Nintendo can do something like this from a legal standpoint. But we get into that gray area where it's like the ethical stuff. Is there really a point for Nintendo to do something like this? Is there really a benefit for Nintendo to do something like this? You know, protecting your IP, I get it. Nintendo is one of the most protective companies over their IP, but I don't really see how this was going to really negatively impact Nintendo in any way, shape, or form, considering that they are playing a game that you cannot purchase new and give any financial restitution to Nintendo, and the fact that the game cannot be played natively online. Anyways, these people in the Melee community just wanted to play this game and have this tournament, and really a lot of these professional gamers who do these tournaments, that's how they make their money, is within these tournaments. So once again, is Nintendo within their rights to do something like this? Of course they are. Now, should they do something like this? Like I said, that's going to be an ongoing motif for the rest of this video. Now, this is extending into the Splatoon community as well. And yesterday, Splatoon 2 was supposed to have the North American Open Tournament, in which this would be live streamed on Nintendo's channel. And this live stream was planned for the finals of this event, and it was going to be a huge big thing, but it ended up getting canceled, according to Nintendo, because of unexpected executional challenges. So what does that actually mean? Like, why can't you do a live stream of an event event when you've done so many other live streams for the other Splatoon tournaments? Why all of a sudden is this now a problem? Well, a vast majority of teams and individuals that were playing Splatoon 2 actually had changed their names to relate to free Melee related sort of things, which I guess Nintendo obviously isn't going to like. So because of this, while the event still did happen, the live stream of this event was not taking place. This live stream did not take place, and Nintendo said that this was because of unexpected executional challenges, which, I mean, let's be realistic here, that wasn't the reason why. Nintendo just didn't want a bunch of free Melee related stuff on their YouTube channel. And once again, I sorta get it, but it's like, you know, obviously these communities, when it comes to the competitive side of gaming, are going to be very tight knit, because a lot of people don't understand these competitive communities. They don't understand the passion, the dedication, the hours and hours of time that these individuals put into this community. So it's something that they're very passionate about, and of course it's going to intertwine with other, you know, competitive communities within the Nintendo communities themselves. There's a lot of communities and stuff going on, but really what I'm trying to say is these people are like-minded individuals, so they're obviously going to sort of flock to each other and have each other's back. So once again, Nintendo is doing something that, yes, they technically can do, but is it really worth doing? Is it really worth doing this to get negative publicity about this situation? And then finally, like I said, we're going to talk about this Edicons situation, which this was brought to light last night, and I don't know that there's really any sort of justification with it. Of course, we're going to have that gray area stuff. We're going to have all that IP talk and whatnot. Now, the Edicons were obviously themed after the late Etika, who was a very popular Nintendo YouTuber, Twitch streamer, very well liked in the community, and generally a very good dude. I actually had the chance to hang out with him at Long Island Retro Gaming Expo 2018. Had a blast with him, very charismatic dude, very friendly dude, just a dude that was full of life. And unfortunately, he passed away on June 19th, 2019 due to some mental health related issues, to which I say don't have this negative stigma about mental health. You know, if you're feeling down, you're feeling depressed, you're having negative thoughts and stuff like that, don't be afraid to reach out to people. I don't understand why mental health has such a negative stigma anyways. Like, if you break your leg, it's not like people are shaming you for breaking your leg. So like, you know, your brain is a pretty big part of your body. I don't know, it's a weird thing. But Etika unfortunately passed away. So these Edicons were being made, which were essentially Nintendo Switch themed Joy-Con covers that were in tribute to Etika. Now, looking at their Indiegogo campaign, they ended up raising $36,000, roughly $37,000 by 300 backers. And the whole thing of this was that the money was going to the JED Foundation for teens and young adults with mental health awareness related things. This is a well-known foundation, and you can take a look at these Joy-Cons themselves and see that they're very Etika related. Now, these are not actual Joy-Cons. Let's get this out of the way. This is simply a cover for your Joy-Con. So you disassemble your Joy-Con, you slap this cover on there, and then bada bing, bada boom, you have this customized Etika look to it. You can see that one of them has the Etika E on it, which is very well known. I have the Etika E t-shirt somewhere in my house, and the other thing was the Joy-Con Boys moniker, which of course was something that Etika pretty much made up. It was sort of his movement, and it was a very, very popular thing. Now, obviously not all $37,000 of this was going towards the JED Foundation because there was manufacturing issues. An individual by the name of Captain Alex was actually doing this, who does all sorts of customization stuff for various consoles and controllers, but a vast majority of this money was going there. Obviously, you got to buy product, you have to ship product to individuals, you have to create the product as well. So a vast majority of this money was going towards charities, and let's be realistic, $37,000 is a lot of money to me or you. If somebody handed you 37 grand, you're not going to be like, oh, I guess that's okay. But obviously to a big company, a big corporation, that's, you know, just a drop in the hat. Well, an individual actually reached out to Captain Alex via Twitter and asked if they were still doing the Etika Joy-Cons because he wanted to get some, to which Captain Alex actually told this individual, no, we got a C&D from Nintendo saying that we're not allowed to make these Joy-Cons anymore. And he actually made a video on this. I'll have a link to his video in the description box down below because that's sort of how I found out about this story. But watching this video, I wasn't quite sure that there was enough meat to it because it really didn't give that many details on it. Well, last night, Captain Alex actually elaborated on the situation, showed off the C&D, and oh man, so let's just take a look at this. So Nintendo basically sent out a thing saying that you are on notice that your production, marketing, and sale of the infringing products, your use of Nintendo's trademarks in connection with these activities, and your false association with the Nintendo brand violate Nintendo's intellectual property rights. Nintendo is basically saying they're going to sue them for up to $150,000, which, let's remember, is substantially less than this project even raised in terms of money, and that he would be liable to be, have to pay for Nintendo's attorney fees and costs and whatnot. And then he showed a picture of what Nintendo was angry about, using the term Joy-Con, even though he didn't use Joy-Con for the Joy-Con thing. It was just one word. And of course the Nintendo Switch imaging, which I guess can make sense. And then the final picture is him without a shirt on. I don't know why he doesn't have a shirt on, but basically showcasing all of the product that he now has that he can no longer do anything with because of the fact that Nintendo sent him a C&D, and you don't really want to mess with Nintendo on situations like this. Joy-Con covers, not actual Joy-Cons, not actual controllers, but just a cover for this Joy-Con, akin to something like a skin, except you take your Joy-Con apart to put this on there. These covers, which the money was going towards charity, mental health awareness, was shut down by Nintendo, which made $37,000, and then they were going to sue Captain Alex for $150,000 plus legal fees and lawyer fees and things like that, is what Nintendo decides to do here. Like, oh my God. I get it. It is that gray area. It is that motif that we have been talking about. That can Nintendo legally do something like this? I mean, yes, they can, but all because you can do something in life doesn't mean that you should do something in life. By doing things like disrespecting the Melee community, by doing things like disrespecting the Splatoon community, by doing things like disrespecting the Etika community and all of his fans and all of these people that were trying to raise money to donate to charity to have some cool little Joy-Con covers. Like, why? You are well within your right to do this, but all because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean that you should do something. Now, I get it. This isn't going to impact Nintendo in the long run. This is like, the Pokemon Sword and Shield stuff. Oh, we're not buying Pokemon Sword and Shield. And then it goes on to be one of the best-selling Pokemon games of all time. It's really just a matter of optics in this situation. It's just a bad look for Nintendo, and it's a look that Nintendo doesn't need to have. They don't need to do things like this. They don't need to go after small individuals who are trying to raise money for charity by making some custom Joy-Con covers. They don't need to go after individuals who are playing a game that is 15 plus years old online that Nintendo cannot financially benefit from in any way, shape, or form just because they want to play the game with their friends in this competitive aspect. They don't need to go after the Splatoon 2 community and have one of their biggest events, the finals of a North American tournament, and then decide to not stream this tournament because of the fact that people are talking about free Melee. It really just comes down to optics, and from an optics perspective, Nintendo just hasn't been doing a very good job with their fan community, and some of these people are the most diehard people in the world. I understand why Nintendo does stuff like this. They are very protective of their IP. They are the most protective company when it comes to their IPs, but all because I understand why they do it doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with them doing it, and it really just creates a slippery slope. So let me know in the comments section down below how you feel about all this. There's obviously a lot to digest here. I don't think everything is necessarily black and white with this situation. There's a ton of gray area, and that's where it becomes a very interesting topic and a very interesting situation. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.